Hey there, welcome to SharkCast, podcast dedicated to the greatest sporting club in the history of the world, the mighty Cronulla Sharks. This show is brought to you by Dyson Logistics, the Royal Motor Yacht Club Import Hacking, and Jason Hawes at Cripps and Cripps Real Estate. My name is Sam Shinazzi and OG from 2015. It's a glorious victory Monday morning, and I'm here with my good buddy and friend of the show, Keiran Fraser, and this is what we're calling Catching Up with Keiran for Coffee, or something like that. A lot of C's and K's in the title. Fresh from Las Vegas. Keiran, hello, how are you?
I'm slowly recovering. I landed on Saturday, and I'm starting to feel a bit more normal as each hour goes past.
Okay, so we'll get to Vegas in a sense later, but I want you to explain where you were when the Sharks had their brilliant victory on Friday night Australian time.
So at that moment, I was about 90 minutes off the coast of Los Angeles. So I was actually looking at my phone and I was seeing that it was 6 o'clock in Australia, and it was like 6:09. I was just started to get that anxiety and stress, and was trying to see if there was any Wi-Fi on the plane that I could check things. And yeah, well, it wasn't a fun feeling, especially because you never put your phone on airplane mode, right? Because that's just a scam by the government.
No, if you don't, the planes crash.
Well, yeah. So Bryce Gibbs talked about this like 10 years ago on Twitter. And so that's where I got my gospel.
Hang on. We're relying on Bryce Gibbs, all respect, great shark, to talk about plane safety?
Well, the other person who talked about plane safety is James Maloney, and he says that the brace position is actually a position that will kill you instantaneously. So don't ever use the brace position.
Well, he does know how to win grand finals, to be fair.
Well, if there's a person you should ever trust, I think it's definitely him. But I don't even know how we got to this point. But yeah, there was no Wi-Fi on the plane, unfortunately. But as we were getting close to Sydney,
you were looking, but there was none.
I was looking as we got close to Sydney. I started getting like texts coming through.
Uh-oh.
And I think everyone was sending me texts probably in that first 10, 15 minutes because everyone was having a meltdown. So I was like, oh, they've lost. This sucks, you know. But then when I actually got internet, I saw they won. I was like, why was I getting abused by everybody?
Well, you'd be pleased to know that the 6 or 7 friends of yours were the only people in the entire world melting down. No one else had a meltdown, especially on the internet.
Well, I've gone and read some posts, and yeah, some people were not happy, but they were the same people were very happy, you know, an hour or so later. It's quite amazing.
What is factual, though, is that none of us were happy in that opening 15. I know you've watched the game since, which is great, and we're mostly going to talk about that. I was pretty proud of them, and yeah. I think in hindsight, if they hadn't have got the results, I'd still be taking a lot away from it. But I'm just really thankful they did for millions of different reasons. But we showed that we can grind again. We showed that we can beat a top 8 team again. We showed that we can win away from home, down 12-0. Hold the team out for 60 minutes, not go crazy in the last 10 to 15, throwing the ball around. Like, they really looked like they'd matured. It's one game, absolutely, but they looked like they'd come so far since last year.
Yeah, and I think you kind of think about the trials, right? So last year, the Sharks were like basically the best team in the preseason, but they didn't have enough offloads, so they didn't win the competition. And then we started flat. And this year, the trials, they didn't look that crash hot, but they've actually started well. And like, when was the last time the Sharks won a round 1 game? I can't remember.
It was 2021, but it's the only one we've won in the last 10 years. So it's 2 in like 10 or 11 years now.
Yeah, because that's the feeling, right? It always feels like going in a round 2 where it's like you don't want to be down 2-0, and that's a hard way to turn the season. You look at what happened to Parramatta last year. They got off to a bad start, and they could never get it back. So to be up 1-0, it's fantastic.
It is, as I adjust my microphone settings. Apologies. Oh, what have I done? Apologies, everyone. It's a relatively new mic. This is not going to look good on camera. That's okay. We'll move on. I'm already getting texts from the crew about not being complacent against the Bulldogs, and that's a great sign because it means we're 1-0. That's awesome.
Yeah, and I mean, the Bulldogs game, I think, is going to be interesting because they haven't been at Shark Park in a long time. And the last time they were there was that Roosters game where it was just diabolical, right? And Fitzy,
well, the result was, yeah.
yeah, the result was diabolical, right? And Fitzy's really made a huge thing about making Shark Park that place where no one wants to come. And Friday 6 o'clock, I can't wait. I'm excited. I'm so pumped about it. I can't wait to go.
Yeah, it's going to be a great one. What were your takeaways from the game? Tell me things. Talk about
Well,
things.
the crazy part for me was the defense of Will Kennedy and Nico Hines. Those two guys really threw their body on the line. And I know Kennedy had a miss for the Metcalf try, but after that, he was everywhere in defense and he was super physical. And the same with Nico. Like Nico on Jackson Ford a few times really got in his face and really, made those big hits. So I think that was the most impressive thing for me was just the fact that the defense scramble was so good. Braden Trindle too. Some of the kick recoveries that he did, like he just kept putting himself in the right spots. And you think if Moylan was there, would that have happened?
On Will Kennedy and that try that Metcalf scored, to be fair, and Will Kennedy was our best player last year, 9 times out of 10, he's going to score that try, Metcalf. Yeah. Like, I'm not saying he's not at fault somewhat with whoever the other lad was, but Metcalf stepping 15 out in full flight.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah. And I think there was also an awkward position with the player in front of him too. So he kind of got like bumped out of the way a little bit there as well. And again, he threw his body on the line for the Fanua Blake try as well, where he had absolutely zero chance of stopping him. But I'm so excited to get him in Sharks colours.
Fanua Blake looked incredible. Let's hope he's injury-free and comes to us nice and healthy. Nico Hines was great. I thought both halves were great in different ways. I thought Trindle actually played slightly better. And it's interesting this morning, the Dally M points are out. And Nico got 6 points, the most in the game.
Oh, wow.
Talakai got, I think, 2. No sign of Will Kennedy. Fanua Blake got maybe a bunch as well. But so that's a whole other subject. But I thought Nico was really solid. The first half, he was really aggressive.
Yeah.
And it mostly worked for him. But I thought the second half, he was slightly calmer, but still really physical. And I guess a match-winning tackle. Would you go that far? The last tackle of the game?
Absolutely, because they had been battered for like that last sort of 8 minutes or so. The Warriors were just throwing everything at their line. And they did that play, which was that trick shot where you put the second rower straight at the half. And Nico read it, and Nico really got in there and made that tackle. It was something that in the past it might have gone through the line, and we could have said, "Oh, well, at least they fought back." But for them to actually execute in those big moments shows that they've done a lot of work on those defensive issues.
Yeah, absolutely. The guy that I can't stop thinking about is Sifa Talakai. At times, he carried the team on his back, literally doing 2 hit-ups in a set off their own line. Absolutely incredible performance, not to mention the tries he scored and set up. You and I have talked about the one that he scored. He had so much involvement to set Ronaldo up. He fell on his bum, got back up, scored the try. And Talakai, for me, I think was man of the match. I don't think it was Will Kennedy. I think it was Talakai. And that was an insane performance.
Yeah, I mean, that try that he set up for Ronaldo, where he catches the ball on the inside and gets to the outside and does that pass, he's so skillful. And I think whenever we just think of Talakai, we think of this battering ram. Yeah. And everyone talks about his defensive issues and all that type of stuff. But, if you're a player, he's probably one of the last centers you want to be running at. Like, if you're going up against Talakai, you must be going, this is going to not be a fun night, because he's so physical and everything he does is brutal. Like that set where he took 2 hit-ups off our try line, we were getting bashed, and he was just like, give it to me, I'll do it. And he's just steamrolled people. I'm a big Talakai guy.
Yeah, I thought that without him, we probably don't win that game. Because we talked about during the week about how if the middles couldn't all each completely get the job done, then we needed other people to help, and they did. Like the back 5 were incredible. Like I thought that was close to Ronaldo's best game.
Yeah, and I think when we look at the team, and everyone sort of says, well, they haven't added, any new signings of note and all those type of things, and the club has always been pretty resolute in we can get more out of those guys. Like, just take the back 5, for example. Do you think any of them has hit their peak?
Will Kennedy, no. Ronaldo, no. Jesse Ramian, not sure, but hopefully not. Talakai, who knows? Katoa, maybe. But yeah, that's my answer.
There's all upside in all those guys, I think,
Yes.
right? And I don't think any of them's on a downward trajectory, right?
No.
And they're all kind of around that 100-game mark right now. And you go back and look at the Panthers, the team that we played in the 2018 finals, I think it was.
Yep.
Like, they had Dylan Edwards in there. They had Nathan Cleary in there, right? And then they started dominating like 3-4 years later. And I'm not saying that we're going to go on a Panthers like run here, but that's the model that the Sharks are trying to accomplish, right? Of getting more out of those guys and doing a strategic signing like a Fonua Blake along the way. So at least there's a vision, and I'm buying into it at the moment.
Yeah, for sure. Jesse Ramian's defense on RTS was exquisite.
Yeah, like that was the concern, right? It's RTS's return game, first game back of the Warriors, sold out crowd. And I barely noticed him in the game. And, Jesse got a few errors out of him and got some penalties and things like that.
Yeah.
I think Jesse's got heaps of upside. Like, Jesse, to me, is that Justin Hodges type player if he can put it together. I really do like Jesse. I'm sounding too happy and fluffy here, Sam.
No, it's all good. Like there's a little bit of negativity which we'll get to, and the opening 15 was not fantastic, but it's the opening 15 of a long campaign. I mean, we could sort of get past that.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the forwards. I thought overall they were good. Overall, they were good. At times dominated. At times they were dominated. Looking at some of their stats, some of the guys are not flash, but it doesn't mean they didn't put in. I think, for example, Oregon Kaufusi starting the game, his stats aren't great, but I thought he did enough to kind of hold some sort of spot in the 17. Like I thought as a starting guy, he wasn't, I thought he was competent. I thought it wasn't flash, but I didn't think he did anything wrong.
I think with Kaufusi, when he does things, he can be super physical. And I think that's the kind of point of difference that we kind of need from him, because you've got a lot of impact guys there. And I think with Kaufusi, he was just solid and he did his job. And I think, he was quite handy for us. And that allows Toby to come off the bench. I know Toby's coming back from injuries, but Toby looked unreal off the bench.
We'll get to him. Don't worry about that. Royce Hunt, obviously an unhappy game for him. Just overall, just the 3 errors were just too much at wrong times and didn't seem to learn from it in the game. I'm sure he'll learn from it during the week. I'm not putting a line through the guy. I just thought in a team of guys that did really, really well, I thought he was pretty off. He had some nice hit-ups throughout the game, a few nice hit-ups that were handy, especially in his second stint. But obviously he'll be talking to the coach about some of those errors.
I think when I get most worried about Hunt is when he starts putting that arm out for the offload. And I think it came off in one of the trial games for Beryl to score, but or was that was Kaufusi, sorry. But when
he had a good All-Stars game.
Yeah, okay. When he starts getting that arm out, you just start to worry a little bit. So maybe it's like they went through that period with Fafita where they were just kind of like no offload, just go straight and hard, and then Fafita just dominated the game, right? But yeah, that's the concern for me. Man, there is players to come back, and then what the roles look like, you do wonder where Hunt fits in.
Yeah.
Especially moving forward into things like next year when you got Fonua Blake there as well, right? So
yeah,
he's got a bit of work to do, I think.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd be starting him this week. We can sort of ponder over that during the week, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. I thought Cam McInnes was just, what can you say about the guy? He was captain. He was terrific.
He's so calm.
He's calm. I like the way he spoke to the ref. That was kind of cool.
It was gentle. Like for a bloke that's an absolute lunatic, it was just strange to see him be so patient and calm talking to the ref.
I guess that's just maturity. We saw other middles like Dale Finucane come off the bench. He had an unfortunate error with one of his first play the balls. But I thought other than that, he was fine. Like as a benchy, that would probably be my role for him. I see positives in it. I'm not saying there's not guys there who can't do as good a job or better, but I thought it was fine,
Yeah, I think having him off the bench was a bit of a surprise to me. It's something that I think a lot of people have kind of wanted for a while with McInnes starting. But you bring on Finucane in the middle of the game, and you bring on a guy that's got a couple hundred games experience, won grand finals, a proven leader, and you see the players, they all respect him and really love being around him. So I think that's a great role that if he embraces, it also says to other players, you're not above coming off the bench, right? If Finucane does it and he rips and tears, if you're Toby and you're on the bench, you can't complain.
Toby was immense. He was maybe the third best guy up there for me. Almost 100 meters, half-hour stint. Just really effective runs. Didn't miss any tackles, and a real presence out there. And I absolutely loved what he did.
I think he's playing less minutes, and he's just going off so much harder. Like he rips and tears like there's nobody else. And I think the less minutes he has, the better he's going. And if that's his role, and that's pretty exciting. And again, it falls into that depth, right? Once you bring in Hamlin Ueli and guys like that, it's going to be a unique way. But I thought the way the bench was used too was different to the past. Did you notice that?
Elaborate for me. I noticed it was a bit more effective, but
yeah, well, sometimes like last year and the year before, like there's been a lot of talk online of like players playing too long minutes and players getting gassed, and then you'd see an error from a Toby or an error from a Hunt, and people are sort of saying, well, we get to the end of the game, we've got lots of interchanges left and things like that. But it seemed like a real plan this week to actually go through and recycle the guys. So no one was out there and they looked completely gassed. And Jack Williams was another guy who came off the bench and was phenomenal. I thought he was probably one of our better players too.
Yep. So I've got a feeling, and I can't confirm it, nor would I really ask the question, but I've got a feeling Royce was hooked early in the first stint. His total minutes were 19. So that probably wasn't the plan for a starting prop.
Okay.
We go to Kafusi played 44 minutes. Cam played 40. Dale played 20. Jack 47. Toby 31. Hazelton 40. So some big minutes from some of them, some less so for different reasons. Dale with 20. That might be easing back in. He was injured to finish the season. Didn't play too much preseason, I don't think, or maybe I can't remember, but that might just be tactical to get him fit. Jack Williams was unbelievable. He was fantastic. Yeah, he came on a bit earlier than expected. 100th game. I believe family was over there to watch him. Really special game for him. And I'm glad they won for him. And I thought Tall Tom was really great too. I thought that, I think he made the most meters for us, played half the game. And I just really like what he brings. And it's not going to be amazing every week. Like he'll do a job, and some weeks it'll look sort of better than others, but it's going to be a very consistent role. I think he's getting more and more like Luke Douglas to me every week.
I was just thinking that, like, he's just become consistent for mine. Like, he actually looks like a real first grader now. In his first couple of games, you kind of thought, oh, can this guy do big minutes because of the size of him and the pace of the game? But that surprised me. He busted out 40 minutes. Like, was that the biggest of our front rowers?
It's close. So Jack, whatever you want to consider him, played 47, and Kafusi played 44.
Wow.
Yeah. So to have him out there for that long shows that they really trust him.
Yeah, and it shows that his fitness obviously is really up there too, because he is enormous. He's one of the biggest humans I've ever seen.
Yeah, yeah. What did you make of Blake Island?
I thought Blake was. I didn't notice him that much. You noticed him when he got bounced off the Fanua Blake big run, but that just made me think of exciting for next year when he's able to run off the back of that, right? But I didn't really notice Blake that much now that I think about it.
He had a few handy runs and was just sort of serviceable for the rest of the game. Nothing bad. There was that missed tackle, and a few people sort of added me on the socials, and I was like, well, what do you want him to do? It's Fanua Blake. Of course he's going to look funny bouncing off him.
Yeah, and the size difference there for one. But I just looked at his stats. He did 45 tackles against a huge Warriors pack. his service was obviously immaculate. The fact that I can't even recall that much of his game. And when you talk to anyone around the club or different people in the NRL, they all say the same thing. His service is second to none, right? And he gets the ball in the right places, and you never see a bad pass from dummy half from him, right? And I think everyone wants him to run more and be that flashy guy and maybe kick a little bit, but if he can go unnoticed and get us on the front foot and put us where we need to be, then that's a win for mine.
So he had 4 runs for 33 meters, and again, not amazing stats, but if he keeps adding to that each week, it'll start looking more impressive if that's what you're after. But I think the fact that there wasn't some sort of upcry from the world about him aside from that missed tackle, I think it's a good sign. I think people kind of locked into the fact that he had a good game, not great or amazing, but he was just solid. And most of the team played to a standard that you really need week in, week out. And they really, man, they dug in. It was so impressive. At 12-0 down, you're thinking, you know what, this could blow out to 40 in all seriousness. Like, that's not being dramatic. It's 15 minutes in and it's 12-0. And we look like on that right edge that we're struggling. And they pull it all together. And the super important part was the 20 minutes before halftime. If they had let go even one more unconverted try, you'd think that would be probably enough for the Warriors to kick on.
Yeah.
And their halves stopped playing. I thought it was hilarious that my good friends at Fox Sports were playing a promo about Sean Johnson, who's on a show tonight, and he was talking. It was all about the game against the Sharks and how it was one of the greatest moments of his career. And I'm not talking that down. It probably was. Like, it was an amazing win for the Warriors. But, like, come on, bro. It's 2024. Go out and win the game for your team. You're up 12-0. Him and Metcalf just went to sleep. They stopped playing.
Yeah, and there was a few things, right, where he kicked on the fourth, like attacking a line, but it wasn't even near the line. So, like, I went and read some of the Warriors fans' comments on some of their forums and that, and they were all sort of having a meltdown, saying this is back to the SJ that we know and love. But
they'll get better. Like, there's no doubt the Warriors will be fine. Like, maybe 5 more minutes, they win the game. I don't know.
Well, the Sharks' resiliency, I think, was just there because the Warriors were trying to throw a lot at them, and the Warriors almost went up 18-0 too, like where they had the forward going at Nico and Will Kennedy stopped that as well, and then Ronaldo diffusing that kick in the corner. There was no way that we should have won that game. Like, the Warriors are a good side. They had 20,000 plus people there on a Friday night. Like, that's a game when you look at the draw, you probably put down as a loss.
If you go back onto some of the match centers online, you can use the Fox Sports one. I'm sure there's other ones as well. And you look at the stats by half, and you look at the first half stats, even overall. But if you look at the first half stats, it's kind of scary that A, it wasn't more than 12-0 down, and B, that we won the game. Like, it's only one game, and you and I are not going off too early, but it's just an amazing sign at this point of the very early part of the season to say, well, this is what we've achieved. This is where we can improve. And I sort of get the feeling that Fitz is one of those guys that will hammer into them all week. Like, yeah, amazing. Well done. You should be congratulated. But hey, this is where you went wrong in the first 15.
Yeah.
This is where you could have scored some more tries. There was a couple of chances down the right with Katoa and Jesse getting a bit confused. It's round 1, no dramas. So we had our chances too to sort of go ahead a little bit more. But overall, I think one of the better wins in the past, 10 years. Like, just super happy with it.
I just think it's the confidence as well, because we haven't been a great starting club, and we always have to kind of work our way into a season, right? But for the Sharks to have, everyone says the same issues about the Sharks, right? They can't be a top 8 team. They only win at Shark Park against the easy teams and all that type of stuff. The defense isn't good enough. They held out a team. They beat a top 8 team. They did it on the road. So it's kind of like reaffirming that, hey, we're on the right course here, and there's things to improve on. But they got themselves in a bad situation, then they got themselves out of it, and that's super impressive.
Now, we are recording this before the Academy Awards today, Kieran. Are you able to confirm or deny, is the Iron Claw up for any awards at all, or is it too early or something?
I haven't seen anything about that. The only thing I've seen about the Iron Claw is that you can now rent it, and I still haven't seen it yet, so I need to rent it.
I'll tell you this. and I'm assuming this is a song from a movie from the things I've read. If Billie Eilish doesn't win 14 Academy Awards for that song of hers, the ballad, then let's just shut it all down. You know that song I'm talking about?
I've got no idea what song you're talking about, mate.
Oh, go
I
to
will
like
put it on
Billie
Spotify after
Eilish
this.
Spotify and go to the first song. I can't remember what it's called. It's unbelievable. That's how good it is. I can't remember
What movie is it from?
I don't know. I think it's from a movie. I read something about it. I saw her on Saturday Night Live do this song, and I was in tears, going, "This is unbelievable." And this morning, I put it on just because I knew it was awards day, because I think it's up for something. I may be completely wrong, and maybe we're getting hate mail. I don't know, but Billie Eilish is my thought for the morning because it's just an incredible song. Like you're the biggest softie I know. You'll be melting, man, when you hear this song.
Yeah, I don't need anything else to make me cry these days. It's just I'm a very fragile person. But I did watch Australian Idol last night because of
Hey,
yes,
our boy's
and
going all right.
well, that I thought about that. Right, he's killing it. But then also too, did you see the KO Sports ad?
No.
So the Sharks are all over that. We've got our female captain on the float that they've got. There's Nico on the boat. We've got the Australian Idol. You know, we're the most marketable club in the league. I think we've got to be in Vegas next year.
We also we're about to be owned by people who own Vegas, which is very exciting. $5 million coming to us over 5 years, I believe. Unconfirmed. We'll get some official status on that maybe in the next week or two. But yeah, some big players coming into the Sharks to give us some, I don't know, is it sponsorship? I don't know what it is.
Well, yeah, I mean, we'll have to maybe ask your mate Dave, but from reading it even looked like it was a gift at some point. I can't understand that someone would just give $5 million for nothing, but the way the article was kind of written, it was like they got a call with ET and they said, "Oh, okay, here's $5 million." So must be nice.
I get the feeling that the prize will be when we have a game in Vegas really soon, and they're just VIP the whole way. They're picking the team. You know, one of the youngest guy is the 18th man on the bench. Like, you know, that's how it's going to work, and I'm all for it. Like, it's going to be interesting to see what they do with the money. As I said, the whisper I heard was $1 million per year over 5. That may be wrong, but that's what I'm hearing. So with $1 million, which is still a lot of money, you wonder what you do with it. Does it go towards facilities for the players? Does it go towards stadium? Does it go towards, I don't know, something else? I'm not sure really what's going to happen there, but
you know, they've got a lot of poker machines in Vegas, mate. You know, maybe we don't need to spend as much. They could just ship a few out here and put them on loan.
Yeah, maybe. Now, you know a lot about business. You're one of the businessmen that we associate with in the show. What's their deal? They're just high rollers and they own things in America.
So I haven't done a lot of research on them, but from what I looked at, it looks like they have like investment arms and sort of put their money to work for them, and they buy assets that just generate a ton of revenue, right? So like buying the Cosmopolitan Hotel in Las Vegas is probably one of the most ridiculous things I ever have heard of. And I think they paid something like 5.5 billion for it. But you can just imagine the turnover of that every single day. And I'm sure the club is asking them for advice on, you know, things like the Leafs club that we're doing, right? You know, how do you make that successful? But from my research, yeah, they look like they're just real big investors that are making an absolute killing. I think they're worth something like 60 billion.
I mean, at some point, if these guys are legit, and I'm not here to suggest they're not, and it's a controversial subject, but do we start thinking about ownership or something? If these guys are that big fans,
I'm all down for it. And again,
because they could own an NRL club in their sleep with that kind of money.
I don't look, you know, I'm sure there is downsides to it and people will probably be screaming, you know, and getting angry at me for this, but I don't see, if you've got an owner that loves your club, you know, look at what Russell Crowe did for South. You know, South would not be here without Russell. And, you know, I've always dreamt of some billionaire buying the Sharks and turning us into the Roosters and just paying players under the table and just laughing everybody's faces saying, we don't care about your little fines. Like, bring that on. I want to be the most hated club in the league. I want to be paying everybody triple their market value.
Can I say I want to be the most loved club in the league? Because we've been the most hated from time to time in recent history. I don't find it fun. Although in those times, there wasn't a lot of success. So that was also the double downer for me. I mean, if we were really, really successful and people hated us. I guess it's a different story.
I
But
would love
yeah,
that.
interesting one, man. Like it kind of came out of the blue as far as the press hearing about that. And my biggest takeaway was none of the guys, none of the brothers, none of them had blue hair. That was amazing.
Well, the first thing I did was I Googled Clint to see what he's up to these days.
Is he all right?
I think he's still in jail.
I didn't know he was in jail.
So yeah, he got done for defrauding an insurance company. I think he went to jail for that. So
I thought he was like mentally really unwell. I'm not even making light of that, obviously. I thought he was
yeah,
not.
yeah, but it just remembered me of those dark days. And then someone said, "Oh, here's some money, and we can save it." And how exciting that was at the time. So whenever somebody says they're going to do something nice for the Sharks, you get that George Costanza moment where nothing good can happen in life, and it's going to get taken away.
I'm not one to judge a book by its cover for obvious reasons and also maturity and learning lessons. But like the blue hair was a bit of a bad vibe when I saw the picture back in the day. Blue hair.
He's just a diehard, mate. You know, just a diehard.
Bless him. I hope he's doing all right. Hopefully, wherever he is, hopefully he's happy in some way. Keiran, we got a big week. We have the Bulldogs on Friday evening down at Shark Park, and it's going to be a fun one. I hope they have a big crowd there. I know they're pushing hard for a big crowd. I don't see why there wouldn't be, aside from that early time slot. But even that, come on, let's go out there. And if you can get out there, of course. If you can't, of course, that's understandable. But if you can, it's going to be a really good occasion, I think.
Yeah, again, it's that first home game in a long time. There was no trials there this year, so just getting that sort of vibe and environment again, I can't wait. And hopefully get down there before the game and grab a beer somewhere. Really looking forward to it. It's just I don't know what the Bulldogs have in store for us because of all their new signings, and it hasn't really clicked yet. Is this the week where it does click? Is Cherry going to come back? There's the Fox injury.
I mean, I watched them fairly closely, and like it wasn't a disaster. They just couldn't really go with Para. And my initial vibe was if we can, complete and play tough, then we'll win without too much of a struggle. And I'm not going to base anything on a trial match, but I mean, they were almost fully fit and we won 12-6 and it was a dour game and it was horrible. Yeah. But I just think that everything being right, we should be fine on Friday night. And that's not being cocky or arrogant. I just think based on what we've seen so far from the two teams, one is a very stable lineup. One is really just starting out again. And we just got to bomb that Blake Taff kid out of sight. Just keep bombing him,
Well, I just think they need a halfback, right? And they just look a little bit directionless, but then they've got players like Crichton who can just turn it on, right? So that's the concern. If you do take them easy, they've got certain players that can create something out of nothing and really burn you. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I wonder if Connor Tracy plays. I think he was 18th man on the weekend. So there's a potential few ex-Sharkies coming back to Shark Park, which will be interesting to see how we deal with them.
Yeah, that will be interesting. But I'll be catching up with you down there. Can't wait. Thank you so much for your time this morning on the inaugural Catching Up with Keiran over coffee. Title may stay, title may go. We'll see what happens. Enjoy your curb tonight, and we shall talk to everyone soon. SharkCast Pod. We'll have some more episodes throughout the week, and hopefully we'll see you down at Shark Park. Till then, my friend Keiran, have a great week. And remember, wrestling is real. People are fake.
It's still real to me, damn it. I can't wait. I'll see you on Friday, mate.
See you, buddy. Up.
Up.